Bringing you back. What year was this, Luch? 93?
I was just probably just about high school. I know one of my buddies got pummeled by a bunch of flashlights by bouncers at a House of Pain concert. And he started a fight right in front of the stage, and they just beat the crap out of him and drug him out.
You've always had a story.
Everlast in the House of Pain.
House of Pain.
They had some good songs.
Yeah, don't forget to get your questions up here for Luch in that final segment. He'll be by himself, which I'm going to have the radio on the way to the airport because I want to hear this, you hosting a show by yourself. But I guess you'll do it like you do your podcast. Start singing Brooks and Dunn through the whole thing, and it'll be over with before you know it.
That Brooks and Dunn was good last night, Brony.
Oh yeah, did you go?
I'm going to tell you a song that I forgot by them that was a banger back in the day.
Are you going to play it?
If you really want to sound cool, you'll call it a banger or a slapper.
I don't know what
that was. A real slapper. Because
Are you about to play it on live radio?
No, I'm just going to tell you when I find it out.
I didn't know you went last night.
There's a ton of them. It was last second. Someone called me and had.
I can't believe he's getting a little long in the tooth. I'm
working on my next broken heart.
Yeah.
That's a good, starts off strong. So, he's got a little front table humpback going.
No, dude.
Oh, gosh,
I can't wait.
Yeah, I pick on my mom about that, too. Don't worry. I'll have it. from all my years of typing.
Well,
I slouch and squint so much on a table. On the computer.
When you finally have to go glasses.
We call Logan Posture Lee. I am not Posture Lee.
Posture Lee.
There's Posture Lee. There's not Posture Billy.
Coming into spring football, Luch, I want to look at it from a coaching staff perspective. I'm trying to get past that. I hope your mom's listening. Of all the coaches on staff, who's got the biggest coaching job this spring for you?
The most significant,
or
who's
most
the toughest?
To do. Yeah, the most to do.
This spring?
Yeah.
Man, I've heard you guys are so loud down there that all I hear is just confusing me now because they were good. Somebody said Pivito, and that was going to be one of the first ones I thought were Elko and Pivito with the linebacker. Morris. And Tipton said Chad Morris. And then he also said Jay Graham in the running backs, which I do think is a significant one.
Really?
You're replacing a 7.
Man, but I think the guys are back outside of Travion.
Who had 90% of your rushing yards.
And you have no new guy in. That's the only reason.
No, I know. I wouldn't pick
Pivito's got new guys in.
I wouldn't pick running back, but I thought it was interesting because you think about it and you go, it's such a big part of the offense. But I will say it's probably Peeve and probably Joe John Finley.
Yep. I still think Josh Henson has
Cup and Beal. But then, here's the deal. We're going to name every position, right? But for right now, this spring, I think my top 3 would go Peeve 1, Finley 2, and 3, I would probably go Henson because,
let me ask you this. What is the most pressing issue for Henson and Joe John in your mind? The one thing that you think they've got to really shore up before. Is it obvious that it's you've got no experience at tight end?
Henson, it's Joe John, it goes without saying. You got a tight end that has played sparingly. That's second year guy, and you got a true freshman. They'll work probably Rennick in there, whatever. But the reality is, it's just. Get those guys up to speed as fast as you can. That is what it is. For Henson, it's getting to know your guys. Both, you're teaching them new techniques. You're getting to know them personally. You're trying to know what they're about. You're watching them, trying to evaluate, and you are replacing 2 starters. So that's. He's got a significant workload. It's almost I would put Peeve and Elko at number 1 and him number 2 and Finley at 3. But now if you're talking about in the fall, I think that narrative changes. all of a sudden moving into that conversation and maybe right up there, hell, maybe to the top of the list might be Mo Linguist. If you ask me that question in the fall, because now you've got Damani Richardson, you've got Brian Williams, you've got Elijah Blades coming in who should start, and you got Eric Young. So that kind of has a chance to change up everything. And unlike, tight end, you're adding one in Watermeyer. Linebacker, you're adding some, but you're not, maybe one of them will play a lot out of that group. But I think in O-line, maybe a Kenyon Green.
Well,
but right now, to me, it's what I said.
Well, don't you think Henson's – I get it. You got to learn your guys, their personality, how they react to certain kinds of coaching. That's a huge deal. And he can get a lot of that done in the meeting room. Mm-hmm. But the biggest – in terms of when they're going out on Saturdays in the fall, I think the most pressing issue for him is who's going to play center. I mean, I think that's one of the more intriguing storylines of the whole team in this.
Yeah, because there really is I think there's 4 real options.
Well, and we always looked at like Luke Matthews. We always looked at him as a center candidate, but Jim Turner never had him there.
Yeah. So do you go Luke Matthews? Do you go Barton Clement? Do you go Ryan McCullum?
Prater.
Do you go Colton Prater? I mean, that's 4 right there. That's 4 options.
And then you've got another guard spot open.
And then either way, yeah. So
Tank Jenkins, Grayson Reed,
and all the names we said, and Kenyon Green, or do you move a tackle? I mean, whatever. So,
and then what about Darrell Dickey's job?
I considered it, but I mean, again. Are we going to talk about the job of every position?
No. I'm just asking, is it the toughest one?
No, I don't think it's the toughest, but I do think he has a very important task
to get somebody ready.
Out of 3 guys, they got to get one of them ready. You have to, and there's no way to predict who that's going to be right now. I think for Calzada, though, he had to be here to have a chance
100%,
at it.
Yeah.
So that was significant, but I'm telling you, a lot of people I feel like just kind of – you don't hear about a guy enough, and you kind of write him off in your mind on these message boards and social media and stuff. And don't forget about James Foster. I'm just telling you. People forget, who that battle was fought for. That was LSU, Florida State, and A&M.
Auburn, too, right?
Down the stretch in Auburn. It was a pretty big recruitment. And he didn't do anything during the fall to make people think he didn't have a chance to be a really good quarterback here. You just didn't hear about him because he had no chance to play last year. Coming from where he came from, in terms of his career progression, and in a school in Alabama where they didn't run that pro style of a deal, it was to come in here was overwhelming for him, and it was a foregone conclusion from the outset that was a redshirt season for him. So you just didn't hear anything about him. I heard enough about him though. The people inside the program, their excitement level or hope for him has not fallen off at all. But we don't talk about him because who's talking about the quarterback that's redshirting, with all that was going on last fall.
And you had Nick there. He was never a threat to
Starkle,
and Blumrick was ahead of him, too.
And that was always a big discussion, too, was the start. So that was it, man. That was it.
On the other side of the break, we're going to change it to NFL Combine stuff. You're listening to Beliucci Hour Lunch live on The Zone.